Hi, you're watching the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.net. My name is Ross Benjamin. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, and we're going to be discussing the WCC semifinal matchups, a couple good ones, San Francisco and Gonzaga and Santa Clara and St. Mary's. But before we get to that, Mr. Upstone, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ross. And I am hard pressed, but I'm doing it. I can still smile because I had a winning weekend, despite the fact that I had 2 overtime losses and lost 2 other games in the last 40 seconds. So that was good. And by the way, this is something that you can appreciate. So the horse racing was this weekend, the Tampa Bay Derby. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
So they ran the race and everything on the Derby. I had the exacta, which was correct. Okay. But because the system, the tote board system that is at the racetrack that controls all the numbers, and it goes to a number of tracks throughout the East, that race was went off then as a non-wager. So in other words, no bets. Okay. On it. Wow. Now, if you placed your bets in advance, it didn't make any difference. It's a no wager. So I had those things happen and then hit the race. I still had a winning day in horse racing, so can't complain there. But you hit the exacta and you don't get credit for it.
Well, it's mind-boggling. So let me ask you a question, because you're the horse racing connoisseur. Did they pay at the track?
In other words, on the individual race, they paid nothing on the race. Okay.
Why is that? Was there a number of scratches or
no? Just because they had no way to calculate the amount of money precisely. They did do payouts for people that did pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s, and the daily double. They were able to do that. I don't really understand how that calculates. Now that part of it I don't know, but yeah. But actually the race, the race itself, 0.
Well, I mean, I would say that it calculates because you already had the front half winner, and they already knew. I believe they would have already known the payoffs based on who won.
It was going along, correct?
Right, yes. And same thing for the pick 4 or 5, whatever they are.
Right.
But you didn't have the win, play, show money or the exacta combinations of that race and what they would have calculated to. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. If you had that exacta, that certainly makes for a tough day. Yes. The horses that you picked, where were they in the odds?
They were the 2 favorites. So I mean, the payout would have been small. I'm not worried about. I wasn't worried about the payout. What I liked was the language they use. The companies that from Tampa Bay Downs, and then the companies that work with them on this. This was an unprecedented event. And, I'm used to unprecedented events, Ross, at this point. Okay. So I'm all good with it. So here we go. We got another week. We got a fantastic week of college basketball coming, with all the tournaments this week. So really looking forward to that. As you mentioned, we're going to talk about a couple of games, and I know you're going to be talking about a lot of games all week long. Okay. So everybody should be turning in to Gamblers World, certainly to follow to that, and also Winner's Circle, and make sure you do that. But yeah, can't complain. Winning weekend, you never turn those down, Ross. So what about you?
I was 4-2 in college basketball this weekend. I had a nice underdog winner yesterday on Indiana as they won the game outright over Michigan State. And I don't know. They keep talking about Michigan State being a number 9 seed. What are they? No, I think they finished the season 18-13 or something like that. And I'm not so sure why their net is so high. I got to take for granted. I haven't gone through the numbers, but I'm sure they have a lot more quality wins than some of the teams out there. But yeah, it was a good weekend. And especially with my college basketball sides, I had been running red hot on my totals, Doug. And the totals have sort of cooled off a little bit, but over the weekend, I went 4-1 with my college basketball sides. My NBA sides, I had a loser yesterday with Orlando, but still 65-40 run. That is what my NBA side. So that's good for 64%. So a lot of good things to look forward to. And don't forget, at gamblersworld.net, not only myself, but 9 other great handicappers. And we have right now our 249 special for March Madness. That'll get you all the conference tournament games, the NCAA tournament, the CBI, the NIT, right through those championship games, all for just $249. And the best part about that is it's a subscription plan of 30 days or fewer, so it qualifies for a guarantee. That means if you don't make a profit with that NCAA tournament or March Madness package, I should say, we will credit your account back the exact amount in which you paid for that particular purchase. Don't forget, you can find Doug over at DocSports.com. That site's been around for 53 years. Longevity certainly speaks volumes. And there you have it. Make sure you spend a little money with Doug, and you'll make a lot of money. Trust me. All right, let's get to our games. Again, we're going to be covering Santa Clara and St. Mary's and Gonzaga in San Francisco. And I'm going to leave it up to you, Doug, on this Gonzaga and San Francisco matchup. San Francisco played them tough the last time they played. Right now, Gonzaga is a 9-point favorite, and the total in this game is 150.5. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, before we start, just one question. Just get you a quick opinion. Would you rather have Michigan State in the tournament or Indiana State?
Indiana State by far. Yeah,
that makes two of us.
And unfortunately, that's probably not going to be the case. Right. I would have to look at Indiana State's non-conference portion of the schedule, and that's what usually crucifies teams like that have been number one in their conference all year long, and then they lose in their conference tournament. And at the very worst, they're going to be in the NIT because they were the regular season champ. But no, again, Doug, great question, and my answer is emphatically Indiana State. I would like to see, but realistically, I don't see that happening. But anyway, go ahead, Doug.
All right, so the West Coast Conference. One thing I believe that's different this year in the West Coast Conference as opposed to previous years is, they've had the double bye system now for a number of years. So like the teams that finish first and second in the conference have a free pass to the semifinals. But I believe this year, if I'm not mistaken, is that the teams that in this case, Santa Clara and San Francisco, both got a day off in between winning their last game and having to continue. So that, and to that benefits them. Now, in this case, though, Gonzaga still is going after the 3-game sweep on the season. This has been, fairly regular occurrence with them against San Francisco. The Dons actually, I think, are a fun team to watch. I think they're well coached. They shoot the ball very well, 49% on the season. One problem, though, that they have against top-level competition is that they're more of a finesse team. And when the opposing defense can push them off their preferred shooting spots, they're just not quite as effective. Now, Ross, in terms of Gonzaga, I'm not going to say in the last, since they lost to St. Mary's, so about the first or 3rd of February, is that they're the most improved team in the country. But I'll tell you what, they're in the top 3. This team has has gotten way better. Mark Few, their coach, made some personnel changes. He convinced his team to play more physical on defense. And then that transformation then really occurred when the backcourt became solidified. Now, that was in part because they got a little bit more scoring in the front court. But then the thing I noticed watching Gonzaga play, their backcourt players would get down if they missed 2 or 3 shots in a row, and they'd sag on defense visibly. But now they're making their shots, and their play is so much better. Their defense is so much better. I'm not sure that, that this is an Elite 8 material team that like some of the ones we've seen in the last decade, but they have certainly improved. Now, Zags, they're up to -9, Ross, and even though I do like Gonzaga in this game, I'm just not quite as comfortable with that, with the knowledge that San Francisco in the last 3 years is 6-0 in the West Coast Conference Tournament against the spread. Instead, I'm going to go with the total in this one, knowing that San Francisco is 11-3 under in all tournament games the last 3 years, and the Bulldogs of Gonzaga are 9-2 under in away games after 6 or more consecutive wins. Give me the under 150.5 on this particular contest.
And in layman's terms, it's San Francisco and
150.5.
Gonzaga under 150.5. Yeah, I mean, you look at Gonzaga this year, 7-0 to the under, and I'm not sure. I apologize if you mentioned this, Doug. 7-0 to the under this year when facing opponents that are outscoring the opposition by 12 or more points per game. Those games average like 137.9, well under what tonight's total is. San Francisco, on the other hand, 7-1 to the under in road or neutral site games this year versus opponents that shoot 45% or better from the field. And Gonzaga certainly qualifies in that regard, 134.4. So I agree with you. A lot of things align perfectly there. And again, when we get deep into tournaments, especially championship games, you should really, folks, not no-brain your way through it, but championship games in particular. If you look at the history of conference tournament championship games, NCAA tournament championship games, and the other postseason tournament championship games, the games play under a hell of a lot more than they play over. So, again, we could get into that. Could be a topic of discussion for another day, but just keep an eye on that going forward. All right, let me take a look at my game, and that's the St. Mary's Gaels coming off a loss against Gonzaga in their regular season finale, and that game was at home. It was their first conference loss of the season. In this one, St. Mary's opened as a 9.5-point favorite. They're now up to 11.5. Now, St. Mary's is 2-0 against Santa Clara this year. And here's the thing about not only 2-0, they led both of those games wire to wire. That's right, folks. In both matchups against Santa Clara, at no point through 40 minutes of play did Santa Clara ever have the lead in that game. The closest it was 0-0. That's it. And so now you might say, well, Santa Clara only lost by 5 in the last matchup at St. Mary's, and you would be correct. And Santa Clara did cover that game, but it was deceivingly close. Why do I say that? Because Santa Clara finished that game on a 44-24 run over the last 13 minutes of that contest. So obviously they were getting blown out against St. Mary's, and St. Mary's took their foot off the gas. They also had 16 offensive rebounds in that game, which is a real oddity, meaning Santa Clara, because St. Mary's is number 1 in defensive rebounding in WCC action this year. St. Mary's off a loss to Gonzaga, like I alluded to, since the start of the 2021-2022 season. The St. Mary's Gaels are 7-0 straight up in ATS, coming off a conference loss, which they are, winning by 16.2 points per game. Doug, I'm going to lay the big number here on St. Mary's, minus 11.5 against Santa Clara, and they're going to probably control the tempo of this game based on the first 2 games where they led wire to wire. And when they get the lead, as you know, Doug, it's a whole different animal to try to come from behind against St. Mary's, who A, shoots the ball well, B, plays very good defense, and C, slows the tempo of the game down to a crawl, which limits your offensive possession. So St. Mary's, for me, minus 11.5 over Santa Clara. And like Doug just said, he likes the Gonzaga San Francisco game under 150.5. But anyway, Doug, your comments on this particular matchup I just discussed.
Yes, indeed, sir. And well, here we go again, Ross. I'm going to go, this is a lean, but I'm going to go the other way, okay, on this one. And as to why, first of all, I like Herb Sendek as a coach. I mean, he was at NC State. He was at Arizona State. Always did a nice job. I don't think he's an elite coach, but, if you watch how they play, in terms of quote unquote, they play basketball the right way, both on offense and defense. Now, St. Mary's, like Gonzaga, they have not played in 9 days coming into tonight. So I wonder a little bit, mentally, does Santa Clara have their full attention? I guess that for me is really the sticking point, and especially now since the line climbed over 10, that just adds just a little bit of intrigue for me there. I'm just not sure that St. Mary's. I just honestly feel that they're probably looking more ahead to playing Gonzaga instead of this game. So I'm not sure we're going to get their best effort here. This season, Santa Clara 13-3-1 against the spread. And yes, I was among those that had Santa Clara when they had the big second half against St. Mary's. So I'll take the gift when I can get one, because I don't seem to get many of them. So I'm happy with that. But then they're also 18-8 as an underdog the last several years. And so I'm going to say probably barely, but I'm going to take St. Mary's plus the points, saying that they'll keep this in single digits. And it might even just be late, might even just take a lucky thing like that happened last time in order to get it done. But Ross, I'm not saying you're on the wrong side. It's just more of a feeling than it is anything else.
Well, I mean, it's a good point because they lost to Gonzaga in the regular season finale. It was their first conference loss of the year. And they're no doubt part of their mentality, whether they want to admit it or not, is they're looking forward to a revenge situation in the championship game against Gonzaga. I don't know, Doug. It just seems to me like it's Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and teams like San Francisco and Santa Clara are dynamite against the rest of the conference, but I just don't think they're – I mean, again, Santa Clara did beat Gonzaga early in the year before Gonzaga started that climb to improvement that you mentioned. But St. Mary's coming off a conference loss is another thing to me. Right. I'm gonna lay 11.5. It's not going to be on my premium side, but that's my strong opinion. Doug disagrees with me. That's okay. Because the last time you disagreed with me, yours truly won.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, but it's happened the other way on several occasions with both of us, and that's why the show is great, because we can agree and do it in a respectful manner, and you should learn from that, folks, because some of you out there just take it personal when we go against your team or whatever team you may like on that particular evening. It's never personal, it's business, and that's it. All right, Doug, you will be back with us on Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow with Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs. We'll be discussing college basketball tournament action tomorrow, and looking forward all week long, folks. We're talking March Madness all week long. Don't forget, Friday's our live show at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and next Monday we'll be doing a NCAA tournament special. We'll be discussing all four regions with four guys, myself, Doug, Sean, and Jesse. Look forward to that. That'll be live next Monday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget, 249 March Madness special. We're guaranteeing it. If you don't make a profit during that course of time, we will give you a credit back to your account for the exact amount of your purchase price. Until the next time, make sure you hit the like button. And make sure you subscribe. It's absolutely free to do so. And go into your YouTube settings and click on that alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts going up right here on our great channel. Till the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.